Now, find a new rival.
Right, so starting off with some feedback from the last video, someone mentioned that they didn't know that filters existed and that they thought that they had to use them on desktop as well, so I thought I'd quickly show you what you can do to use them on a mobile. So he has an emulated mobile version. You can still see the filters here. I don't know if there's an easier way to do this on the mobile view, but if you were searching for like questions or anything else on this view, you actually need to find a post that's got the flare that you want. And then click on that. You can get a relatively similar experience when it comes to what you want to see on Reddit. So I just thought I'd start with that, and hopefully that's helpful for some people. Right, so I did a poll based on the most reoccurring themes that are currently on r/Street Fighter. And it seems like most people want to hear general tips for beginners. So I picked a few out. And we'll just see if these are helpful. From Toby W123, recently picked up Street Fighter 5. Who are some beginner-friendly characters? As I say, I've picked up Street Fighter 5 and I've been really enjoying it. I've played some other fighting games casually, but I'm not so great. So far, I've been playing Ken. Just wondering if there are any better beginner-friendly characters. Also, is Ken balanced? When we're talking about things like balance and tier lists and stuff like that, we're really talking about stuff that's at the top level of the game when you're learning and things like that. I wouldn't say there are many characters that are going to hinder you or help you any more than any other. What I will say though is that at a beginner level, one thing that you're going to struggle with is everybody else's familiarity with Ken. So it's best known as Shadaloo CRI. You've got to sign in using your PSN or Steam login, and from there you can view really valuable information about the game. Go to stats and then character usage, and this is a pretty standard thing that's existed since the start of the game, is that you'll see these Shotos at the top, Ryu, Akuma and Ken, then whoever the most recent character is quite often. And then it starts to really taper off quite drastically, especially in the early ranks like Rookie up to sort of Gold. You're going to see lots of recurring Kens. If you're going to play those characters, you're going to have to learn to play them quite well. That said, what's going to be really important is actually learning those matchups. You're going to actually come up against one of these characters every 1 in 5 matches, so these are the ones that you're going to really iterate against and actually refine your game against. You can also find on here the matchup figures for each character, so if you're wanting to find a well-balanced character, you can use these as a guide, but really it isn't going to affect you all too much. You can see there, they're pretty much all 4s and 5s. It's a well-balanced game for the most part. This is a really great tool for the early stages in the game where you're actually going to want to know what kind of matchups you should be learning first. And yeah, I would really recommend things like going to that character usage and learning them in that order even. Learn the Ryu matchup, learn the Akuma matchup, learn the Ken matchup, because they're the ones that you're going to hit all the time. Next one from Lion Lep is beginner and getting starting tips. I've had Street Fighter 5 since launch, but I've kept dipping in and out of the game, never sitting down to learn it well. The main thing is, what can I do as a beginner to learn this game and get better? So I'm guessing from the dipping in and out and never learning it well, you're not always enthused to play the game. One of the best bits of advice I could give you there is actually find people to play with. I'll link the new Challenger Discord in the description because that's a really useful place to start. The next best thing is spending a lot of time in training mode, learning different scenarios and different matchups. People will say it's really important here to learn your frame data as well. I know it can be really off-putting to hear that as a newcomer that you have to learn frame data. So I'll show you some ways of practicing here that don't rely on frame data. Learning the frame data makes this process so much faster, so I would recommend it. But if you absolutely hate the idea, this is something that you can do. So you're playing online, you're running into these Kens that we've already talked about. They're doing full screen heavy Tatsu into throw, full screen heavy Tatsu into EXDP, and you just don't know how to get around that scenario. So what you can do is go to dummy settings, which is the second tab along, and you scroll all the way across to the right here to playback recording, action recording settings. So from full screen you're going to record your heavy kick Tatsu and mash and throw, and on the second recording you're going to record your heavy kick Tatsu and just mash and EXDP. And this is your life, right? This is all you're having to deal with constantly. Every time you try to deal with the throw, you're getting DP'd. Every time you try to block the DP, you're getting thrown. Now the best thing to do at this point is to think small. So all we've got at the moment is the recording playing where they do the Tatsu into the throw, and straight away you can see, okay, we can deal with that, we can just tech the throw. And as we've probably learned the hard way, if we're mashing tech when the DP's going, we're going to get blown up for it. And again, we're not looking at the frame data, so we don't fully understand why that happens. All that matters is that we know that it does. So what can we do? First thing we can do is mash the fastest buttons that we know. Looks like a light kick's going to get through. And it looks like anything heavier than that is going to get blown up. Of course, this is without learning the frame data at this point, so we don't necessarily know why that is. All that matters is that we know that it doesn't work. At this point, we've found options that should work in both scenarios, so we can now switch those on. And now, regardless of what they do after that, we know that we can stop it. So there we're stopping the throw by just mashing the light kick, and there we're stopping the DP by mashing the light kick. And now it just becomes a matter of optimizing your punishes there off that standing light kick. So without knowing anything in particular about the characters or the matchup or the frame data, we've been able to put something into the lab and actually work out how to beat it. And in the early stages of the game, that's where a lot of your learning's going to come from. It's about identifying what you're losing to, putting it into the lab, and then just simulating as many ways out of that as possible. Finding safe and consistent answers to scenarios is a really good way to level yourself up in this game. Finding what scenarios it is that you have to learn about, that's not as easy. That is a matter of looking at your own replays, trying to understand what the common scenarios are that happen in these matchups and how to deal with them. CFN's got a great database. You can search by character, by rank, try and find people that are similar to your rank so you can see the things they're getting away with. There you just saw that big heavy tattoo that we were just talking about. The other really important thing about putting yourself in these scenarios in training mode is that you just get used to seeing them, and then when they do hit you online, you know exactly how to deal with them. They're not going to freak you out, and yeah, you can optimize how it is that you stop the opponent from doing them. Okay, next one from Cautious Swordfish 2. I'm not new to fighting games, but I am new to Street Fighter. How exactly do combos work, and how can you chain certain moves together? Besides that, what are some other important details that I should know besides frame data and character knowledge? So when you say how does one move chain into another move, chain combos are a particular type of combo. The most common form of chain combos in this are what are called target combos, which is where you have to actually cancel one move into another. Ken here has a couple of target combos. He's got back medium punch into heavy punch there, and he's also got medium kick into heavy kick. And generally with target combos, you're doing them in quick succession. You're not necessarily having to time them. In most cases, these chain combos are just something where you cancel one move into another move. So just at any point in executing that move, you push the other button, and they have quite a lot of input leniency. They'll just cancel in. There are also like proper chain combos where you just mash one button and a combo will come out. Not very many in this game. Cody has some off the top of my head, but most combos in this game are going to come in the form of the opponent being in hit stun and you hitting them before they come out of that hit stun. And these are more link style combos. Regardless of which type of combo it is, to find out if it is a combo, you want to go to the dummy settings again, second tab along, and you want to select after first attack. And what this means is that Sakura here is going to actually guard after the first attack. So now if I do, for example, those target combos, it definitely lands. We can see that is a combo. And also you'll see a combo counter in the top left there that says 2 hit. And that other type of combo, if I do a crouch and light kick and a crouch and light punch there, you see those linked together. So even though they didn't cancel into each other, Sakura got hit with both of them. That means that she was still in that state of hit stun when the other one started, and she couldn't get out of it. That's really important to know, because if I'm doing a light punch into a heavy punch there and things like that, you can see she's able to block that. So it's really important to know what we would call bread and butter combos, which is those consistent combos that are always going to work in a variety of scenarios, that they're not going to be able to block out of, dash out of, jump out of, things like that. The first kind of combos that you're going to want to learn in the game are combos that start from light attacks, because most likely they're going to be your first punish combos. You're also going to want to know a max damage combo quite early on. So if you block their DP and they go flying up into the air, you know how to get the most out of that, how to do the most damage and really punish them for doing something so aggressive. And then after that, you're also going to want to know things like safe block strings and frame traps within block strings, but again, that's a little bit more advanced. Best thing to do there is actually find things like your character discords and just ask in there what is the best 3-frame, 4-frame punish combos, and what is the best max damage combo. Right, this next one by Bosum SSB. I just can't with this game anymore. Literally every match is just me holding block, because if I release or press an attack, I get hit and die or get stunned, even in fucking Rookie. I don't fucking understand what I'm supposed to do. My opponent can spam shit on my block and I can't seem to do shit without getting hit. I can't even land anti-airs because their jump move hits me first every single time. I can't even find a character I want to play because all the characters I like are supposedly uber difficult to play. So someone like me who has negative IQ when it comes to this game can't play them, so I just end up playing Ryu, which I really don't like to play. This is important to bring up because I think a lot of people have been in this position regardless of where they are. I've spoken to people who are in Rookie that feel this way. I've spoken to people in Master and Grandmaster ranks that feel exactly the same way as well. And yeah, it can feel that way a lot of the time. There's characters that can just do whatever they want over and over and over again, and it feels like it's an endless barrage of just being hit and just having to block and just taking your lumps over and over and over again. But the fact is, there's things that you can do. The first thing is actually to just be defensive and just watch and just see what's happening. And at the very least that you're defending well, so you're crouch blocking when you need to be crouch blocking. Like I said last week, one of the most important things at the early level is actually just identifying when to go from crouch blocking, where you should be most of the time, into stand blocking to protect yourself from things. The next thing to do is identify what can be punished. There's going to come a time when he pushes himself out of range here, and it is a matter of you being patient. It's not their job to let you take your turn, it's your job to identify when your turn is. One thing that I don't see enough with people learning the game is the use of V reversal. Check your character for what their V reversal input is. When you do feel like you're under a lot of pressure, you can just input your V reversal like that. It backs them off, it resets part of your stun gauge and things like that, and just gives you a little bit of breathing room. One last thing that you can do is take little micro walkbacks in block strings sometimes, and there you see it actually affords you a little bit of space, and when you know to look for that sort of stuff, you can start doing whiff punishes and things like that, or just get yourself out of the scenario. All in all, we've all been there. It's the nature of fighting games. It's a matter of practicing and learning your way forwards. 99 times out of 100, when you feel like you can't do something, you actually can, and the opponent is just succeeding in their job at making you feel like you can't. Posted by Mirai Dragon. Any tips for someone trying to get into Street Fighter V? It's been a while and I want to get the Champion Edition, so I hop back on and I suck. And it's not like I'm a total stranger to the series. I'm able to play Alpha 3, Third Strike and Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition just fine, but this game gives me a lot of trouble. Is there something I'm missing? Street Fighter 5 is an extremely enjoyable game once you stop trying to play other versions of Street Fighter in it. All I can do is assure you that you're not the only person who's been through exactly what you've said there of, I play these other games and I know how to play them, and you know, why? And yeah, it gets to a lot of people. So this game's known for not having a lot of defensive options. What that means is that knowing your defensive options is really, really important. So it might not feel like you've got a lot of that classic neutral in this game. More so in this game, it's stopping people from getting out of neutral. So set up a dummy that's doing dashes and lows and doing jump ins, and just see what it is that you can do to stop them in a bunch of different scenarios. And after that, obviously confirming off those things and converting them. So hopefully that advice and some of the other stuff that I've done in this video will help you with that. So that's been a Street Fighter V Tips for Beginners edition of WTsF. Links to the Street Fighter Reddit and all of the questions that I've answered here will be in the description as well. Thank you so much to everyone who's been given loads of really good feedback on how to improve these, how to make them more valuable to other people. So long as there's good questions in the Reddit and good feedback like that, I'll just keep doing these.